welcome to WagerTalk. My name is Minty Betts. I will be your host for the day. Joining me today is Bruce Marshall at Bruce A. Marshall on Twitter and Yanni the Greek at Greek_Gambler on Twitter. We've got the Minnesota Vikings at the San Francisco 49ers. Today's Minnesota at San Francisco video is brought to you by The Gold Sheet, the nation's longest running sports betting publication. All right, guys, I like San Francisco here, but I don't feel safe laying the 7 points with them. I just like their last 3 wins, their margin of victory was decided by 5 points or less. How do we feel about this, Bruce?
We're thinking the same way you do on this one, Minty.
Okay.
So I think you might be onto something here. We'll see what Yanni thinks in a moment.
Okay.
But I think San Francisco can win, but we're not comfortable laying the points here. And, you know, I'll say this, all these games this weekend, we were kind of looking at them the same way, but in road teams and underdogs, but it's been a road underdog year in the NFL. I mean, road teams are covering about 60% of the time, and some of these teams are really good on the road, like San Francisco, but they're home this week. And Seattle's another team this week on the road that have played very well away from home. But Minnesota, I think last week suggested it can go in here and make a game of it. Kirk Cousins now has that playoff monkey off of his back. More than that, he's got his running back Dalvin Cook healthy again. And this is very important, I think, when you look at these two teams. There's a heavy Mike Shanahan influence both ways. Obviously, we know his son is coaching the 49ers, so there's a lot of the old Mike Shanahan elements to the San Francisco offense. But there is in Minnesota, too, because his old protege, Gary Kubiak, is now on staff for Mike Zimmer. And he has redesigned this Minnesota offense heavy on the play action. When Kirk Cousins fakes and he can sell Dalvin Cook that way, it slows down the opposing pass rush. We saw late in the regular season when Minnesota couldn't do that. When Cook was out, Green Bay didn't respect the run, and Minnesota lost. Cook back in there against New Orleans, it was a different offense. Now remember, San Francisco had problems against teams that ran the play action this year. It sort of slowed down that pass rush with Bosa and Armstead. They've got Dee Ford back this week too. So I think Minnesota's going to move some. Now, San Francisco's got some things going offensively too, since Emmanuel Sanders was acquired at midseason from Denver and Deebo Samuel emerging. They can score some too. So I think this thing might actually get over too. But a stronger recommendation we have, Yanni and Minty, is actually on the Minnesota side here. We had it 26-24 San Francisco in the Gold Sheet, but we think Minnesota can make a game of it, Yanni.
Okay. Yanni?
I can't disagree. Here's my dilemma. Minnesota, I think, catches a break. We know historically dome teams do not do well on the road in the playoffs. But it's supposed to be nice there, 55 degrees, just partly cloudy.
Like a Minnesota summer
Nothing
weather.
They can't handle, exactly. Nothing they can't handle. I mean, in fact, you go back 7-8 years, 30-plus team sample size, and again, it's, I believe, 8-24 straight up, those dome teams. So they have not done well. But again, I think they catch a break here. I like the Minnesota side. In fact, I had them as my best bet last week. And when they beat the Saints, I actually was looking at Minnesota as a future because I figured if they could get past San Francisco, they're a coin flip against Seattle or Green Bay. Neither Seattle or Green Bay should be heavily favored against Minnesota. And we know in the playoffs alone, road teams win about 47% of the time. So I looked at that, but I can tell you with certainty there's some sharp groups that are on the San Francisco side. The reason this line's now at 7 instead of that opener 6.5 is because these sharp groups bet the San Francisco side. And that is what scares me a little bit. But Garoppolo debuting, no playoff experience there. Again, I disagree with the wise guys that are on San Francisco. I haven't fired yet. I like Minnesota, but it's hard to go against people that win long-term because so few are able to do it.
Right, exactly. Awesome. Thank you, guys. All right, guys, get the nation's longest-running sports betting publication, The Gold Sheet, for just $9. You'll receive detailed analysis, write-ups, stats, and more on every college and pro game this week. Download The Gold Sheet now at WagerTalk.com or SportsMemo.com.